What's up guys, Rob the Awesome here, and today we're going to take a look at the entourage of engineer primaries that the game has to offer and deciding which is the best and which is the worst. Before I start, there are certain things you should know before watching. These guys don't just focus purely on the stats, we also focus on the psychological portion of the weapon as well, and how it affects both the user of the weapon and the victims against it. So keep that in mind while watching. Another thing is that if a weapon isn't listed in this video, then the only reason for that is because it's a reskin of another weapon. End of story. Lastly, I advise people to read the pinned comment at the top of the comment section and understand what these guides are about and what my intentions are when making them. It's important to understand the reason for why I do these guides and grasp the bigger picture for past, present, and future best and worst videos. Alright, we good? Here we go. Like always, let's start with the stock shotgun. This pump action beauty can be held by the pyro, the heavy, the soldier, and the engineer, and will cause a great deal of damage to any nearby enemies, dealing up to 90 damage per shot at close range. Each shot consists of 10 pellets, and each pellet does its own individual damage. Depending on how far away you are from the enemy, each pellet can do between 3 to 9 damage total, adding up to big numbers altogether. Lastly, you can hold up to 6 bullets in the chamber at a time, and all while carrying 32 extra shots for insane damage potential. Engineer primaries come in all shapes and sizes. Some are great for defense, some are great for offense, and some have wacky abilities that can be good for both of the engineer's playstyles. A lot of the shotguns that the engineer wields are fairly situational, so much so that it can be super tough to decide which is more important and at what time. Gunslinger engineers are certainly important for offense, while wrench wielders are key for defensive holds. It can definitely be difficult to wager which is most important overall. However, usability and flexibility are the factors that will determine what makes or breaks an engineer primary weapon. The more ways you can use the shotgun, the better it'll be to have around in your arsenal. Whether it does more damage, more healing to buildings, gives more resupply of ammo, or gives your opponents debuffs, the engineer can always benefit from having a full blast primary to kick enemy butt. It's certainly going to be a tough task to rank all of these shotguns in the proper place. I can only imagine what the comment section is going to be like after this. But for now, we're going to put this weapon right in the middle and go from there. Keeping up with the shotgun theme, we've got the Panic Attack. This over-the-top looking shotgun can be held by the 4 classes that could also handle the stock shotgun, but in action, it becomes a handful and a half to actually use with any of them. For starters, there are 50% more pellets in a single shot, turning your 10 pellets into a total of 15, upping the damage potential indefinitely. As a bonus, the weapon also deploys 50% faster than ever before, giving the enemy no time to think twice before being shot into oblivion. The Panic Attack also fires in a fixed pattern, making it easier to know where you need to shoot in order to hit a majority of your pellets. What's so complicated about that? Sounds like a downright good time to me. But here's where the downsides kick in. The weapon itself has a 30% damage penalty, mitigating that increased damage potential and flushing it down the drain. Each pellet can do up to a maximum of 6.3 damage per shot and can combine to do upwards of 94 damage overall. Only 4 extra damage compared to stock? Yeesh. Hopefully it doesn't get worse than that. Well, it does. Every successive shot you take widens the shot pattern more and more, making the weapon less accurate with every shot and lowering its damage potential even more so than the damage penalty already did. Ah, the Panic Attack. What an interesting journey this weapon has gone through. From fun gimmick to slightly usable gimmick, all the way to complete and utter garbage. What? Are you crazy, Rob? How can this weapon be bad when it has increased swap speed, more pellets, and a fixed shot pattern all in one gun? That's simple. Its lack of any range damage stops it from being anything usable for the engineer's gameplay. Take into consideration the extra pellets and the 30% damage penalty combination. If you do the math, the maximum of damage you can achieve is 94, which, as I've already mentioned, is 4 more damage than the stock shotgun. Not 30, not 20, 4 whole extra damage. Yippee. And how can you achieve this extra damage, you ask? At extremely close range, and even that isn't guaranteed. Because of the extra pellets and the fixed shot pattern, pellets are more likely to miss than to hit, and you can even manage to miss 1 pellet at close range to do less than stock. And it only gets worse. The farther you are from the target, the more the pellets will miss, continuously doing 35 less damage than stock with each and every shot. The pellets are so bad, in fact, that it actually takes you 1 or even 2 additional shots to get the kill. Oh, right, but can't you wait a millisecond between each shot to get rid of that decreased shot accuracy downside? All you gotta do is click for every shot. Problem solved. Unfortunately, that still doesn't solve anything. Everything that was already mentioned, from terrible damage to bad fixed shot pattern, are all bad from square one. So even if you manage to consistently get the same accuracy with every single shot, it's still a worse stock shotgun in the end. Talk about a waste of time. I miss the old Panic Attack that had a fun gimmick yet wasn't complete and utter garbage. It's essentially a straight downgrade to the stock shotgun that provides nothing in the long run. A faster swap 2 speed is nice and all, but why on earth would I want to pull it out faster? If anything, I like to pull it out slower slower so I can realize, why did I even pull this weapon out in the first place? The panic attack isn't unusable, but it's certainly really bad. When the upsides are the things that are doing more harm than the downsides, you know you're in for a bad time. Because the weapon has no good upsides and it's fundamentally stock but worse, this weapon goes below the stock shotgun. I'm telling you, if you want a shotgun that does the job right, use the stock shotgun. The panic attack needs a rework, yet again. Revert it back to its original stats, and maybe it could be a contender as a strong and powerful shotgun. Let's take a step back from shotguns for a little while and check out some of the projectile-based primaries that Engineer has lying around. If you're ever in a bind, look no further, for we have the Rescue Ranger. This mighty BB gun shoots out tiny bolts that can puncture opponents and heal your buildings. Damage-wise, the Rescue Ranger reduces the damage by 33%, only producing up to 60 damage at close range. When it comes to healing buildings, each shot takes away 1 medal for every 4 points of health healed, limiting the amount of times you can fire and fix them. Furthermore, the Rescue Ranger has a neat ability to transfer buildings across the map within range for 100 metal, providing backup strategies on the fly. Such nifty utilities for Engineer gameplay. However, it doesn't come without a cost. There's a 34% clip size penalty on the weapon, which gives you only 4 bolts to shoot at a time. You also lose out on half your ammo reserves, giving you only 16 extra bolts for you to fire. Lastly, every time you pick up a building, you are marked for death until you put it down, making you incredibly vulnerable with imperfect setups. A gun that can heal your buildings from anywhere on the map? That sounds amazing! Surely this ability is better than any shotgun the Engineer has in his arsenal. Wrap it up, folks. We've found the best primary right here, right now. Is what I would say if that were true. Let's look at the stats one at a time and point out the flaws hidden within. For starters, it requires some metal intake to fully make use of the healing properties. That isn't so bad if you got a dispenser or a good supply of ammunition. Not to mention that it doesn't take that much metal away from you when you need to heal your buildings. Each shot from the Rescue Ranger heals up to 60 of the building's health. That's only 15 metal per shot, which is super cheap to say the least. So that's not such a big problem after all, but this is where the weapon starts to take a turn for the terrible. Your clip size is reduced to only have 4 in the chamber at a time. If you fire all 4 at once against a heavy onslaught, you aren't going to do enough healing to save the sentry gun. You can only do so much healing before you gotta reload, but the saving grace here is that you can pick up the sentry and save it from a distance. That's problem number 1. The planning to make the carry ability work is super unrealistic. If you're using the Rescue Ranger super close to your sentry, and believe me, some engineers do this, and you pick it up against a ton of damage to save it, you are marked for death and meters away from where the enemy was shooting at, meaning you'll die super easily with sentry in hand. But what if you were far away? Isn't that how you are supposed to use the Rescue Ranger? Believe me, I know. This is where problem number 2 comes into play. Sappers. If you are playing at a farther distance, landing your bolts at a safer location, and plan to pull it back against a huge attack, one sapper will completely ruin those plans of yours once and for all, aiming for an uber-free push from the enemy team and forcing you to rebuild everything from scratch. You can't expect to run all the way there and all the way back for one sapper. That sentry is realistically as good as gone. All that aside, the Rescue Ranger is a fantastic defensive tool. Healing your buildings is too good to pass up on, but at least I pointed out the problems that can occur both up close and far away from your buildings with this weapon. The real question we gotta ask ourselves now is, despite the easy counters, does its high defensive properties and healing value outweigh the damage of a shotgun? No. And here's why. Strike number 3. It sucks with the gunslinger, or in other words, offensive flank engineer. The DPS decrease makes it unusable damage-wise, and why would you need to heal a mini-sentry or forward buildings? The short end of all this is that when it comes to usability, the Rescue Ranger is good on defense, but it's lackluster and not that great on the other half of engineer. And that's 3 strikes, you're out. Again, the Rescue Ranger is a fantastic and situational tool on defense, but when you compare the usability of the weapon with the other tools, it just falls short of top tier. And because of these reasons, this weapon goes below the stock shotgun. The panic attack is still crap. It's unusable for anything the engineer offers to the team. However, the stock's usability for everything, with no clear-cut counters, makes it a more reliable choice as a primary weapon. It sucks that the Rescue Ranger got nerfed a ton. It was starting to see a lot more use too. Luckily, that isn't the only projectile-based tool in the shed. Introducing the one, the only, the Thompson 6000. This futuristic taser isn't something you want to mess with. Although it secretly has a 20% damage penalty, which only gives you up to 72 damage at close range, you can still pull off some amazing things with its other functions. For starters, this weapon requires no ammo. You have an infinite supply of lasers to fire at oncoming attackers. On top of that, the lasers provide damaging properties to spies and medics on hit, removing 10% uber overcharge and 20% of the spy's overall cloak. As if this weapon can't get any better, your lasers can't be reflected by pyros. Now I've seen everything. This weapon sounds far out. What could possibly kill off such an amazing weapon? Unfortunately, you deal 20% less damage to buildings, making it tougher to take them out by yourself. And lastly, there's a 34% clip size penalty too, giving you only 4 maximum charges per reload. I'm just gonna cut to the chase. There are so many hidden downsides to this weapon that it's crazy to think Valve would hide these from us. For starters, the fire rate is super slow. Every time you fire a projectile, you have to endure a longer time just to fire a second one. That can't be so bad, right? Until we reach the second hidden downside. The projectile is as slow as molasses. It's so slow that my grandmother could dodge it no problem. If you get hit with it, you deserve to get damaged by it. But oh wait, there's a 20% hidden damage penalty on the weapon too. Wow, a never-ending ride of disappointment. But look on the bright side, you can reduce a medic's Uber and spy's cloak. Also, a pyro can't reflect your projectile. That must be super useful, right? Wrong. The hidden downside of the fire rate and projectile speed makes it near impossible to hit them in the first place. Even if you manage to hit a medic with the endless supply of lasers you have, he can get 10% overcharge in like 2 seconds easy with an injured patient. It's not even threatening to the team's most important advantage. At best it stalls for time, but that's all you're really gonna get. And spy cloak? The spy has weapons like the L'étranger and the Big Earner to get his cloak back instantly. What is even the point of using this weapon again? The best parts of this weapon is that you have unlimited ammo and that it can't be reflected. Is that seriously all? I think I've made my case. No need to linger around this weapon any longer than I have to. Because the weapon is bad on all fronts and provides absolutely nothing to help you out with your engineering endeavors, this weapon goes below the panic attack. I can't believe I'm saying this, but a weapon managed to get below the panic attack. I never thought I'd see the day, but this weapon is absolutely useless in every way possible. Hopefully Valve gives this weapon a buff. It's in dire need of one in the next major update. You know what? Projectile-based weapons just don't work out for the engineer after all. Let's draw our attention back to the good old shotgun with none other than the Frontier Justice. This shotgun introduces a revenge crit mechanic that builds upon the number of kills and assists your sentry racks up. For every sentry kill, you get 2 revenge crits, and for every sentry assist made, you get 1 added to the counter. The counter keeps stacking up until the sentry dies. The total amount of revenge crits on the counter signifies how many of your successive shotgun shots will do critical damage, which means 3 times the amount of damage with every shot. That sounds sweet. I love doing extra damage, but what are the downsides? Your clip size is cut in half, giving you only 3 bullets in the chamber at one time. There are no random critical hits on this weapon, which honestly don't matter, and finally, if you die with revenge crits left over, or if your sentry explodes during your respawn time, you lose out on all those potential critical hits, leaving you with nothing to show for your hard work. Now we're talking triple the damage for half the clip size, a good risk and reward mechanic to go full frontal after your sentry goes down. But let's be honest, what if your team is so good that your sentry never goes down? You'll never get your revenge crits and therefore have a shotgun with half the clip size. Is that a straight downgrade I'm hearing? Now, let's not jump to conclusions. You have a destruction tool to purposefully destroy your sentry to get revenge crits at the push of a button. How handy! You can plan attacks on offense with mini sentry kills and just wreck people hand in hand. Genius. But all that aside, even if you can manually destroy your sentry gun, there's no guarantee you'll get those crits anyways. Psychologically, the enemy team realistically goes for the engineer pick first before the sentry goes down. If the sentry goes down after you go down, all those crits are gone, leaving you with nothing for your troubles. That sucks. But let's reverse the scenario. What if your sentry dies and you get the revenge crits? On offense, you're a beast. It's pretty much a havoc gun that can't be contained. But on defense, it's another story. An engineer's role on defense is to maintain a nest to stop a push. If you went in with your crits, you would realistically die before you used them, and you would leave your team without an important defensive hold. There's a lot of factors here that make the revenge crits either unobtainable or unusable to begin with. However, that's just how risk and reward weapons work. Sometimes they work out, and sometimes they don't. But when they work out, pow! The enemy team is in for a butt whooping. So where does this weapon go on the list then? At the top? In the middle? How do we determine its rank if the crits are both good, yet unusable most of the time? It all comes down to one simple question. How bad is that clip size penalty really? There isn't a damage decrease, so if you made every shot count and on average did 60 damage per shot, you can realistically kill a majority of the classes in the game no problem. Is that so? So even without the crits, it can stand up for itself? Well, that settles it. Problem solved. Because the crit mechanic is really rewarding, despite the flaws in the system, and the downsides aren't that hurtful in the slightest, this weapon goes above the stock shotgun. It's just a stock shotgun with a need to hit every one of your shots and a rewarding crit system. If you can land your shots, then the clip size penalty ultimately isn't that bad. The Frontier Justice is a fantastic and usably functional weapon across all of the engineers' playstyles. There's no denying the might of the Frontier Justice. Last but certainly not least, we have a shotgun that comes from the future. Wait, What? Another futuristic weapon? Is it gonna be garbage like the last one? Let's hope for the best, for there's nothing quite like the Widowmaker. Unlike the Pomston 6000 that like to be crazy and wacky and all future-like, the Widowmaker likes to keep things simple while rewarding decent aim and a go-to attitude. This shotgun has no ammunition needed to fire because the ammo mechanic gets swapped out for your overall metal count. Each shot fired takes away 30 metal from the 200 you start out with, which can be risky as it takes from your building's reserve. On hit, you gain back metal equivalent to the amount of damage you did. If it takes 30 to fire, but you did 70 damage, you gain a profit of 40 metal to shoot from, making for an endless supply of ammunition. On the bright side, there is no need to reload the weapon, so as long as you are accurate, feel free to spray and pray without worry. Finally, as a neat little bonus, your weapon does 10% extra damage if your sentry is aimed at the exact same target you are firing at, which makes very little difference overall. Another risk and reward shotgun that can give great utility on both offense and on defense. The downsides are completely reliant on how well you can land your shots, and furthermore, how well you know the map to micromanage every ammo reserve there is. With 200 metal and every shot being 30 metal to fire, you have 6 shots to fire your weapon for maximum effectiveness. So it's a shotgun that gets better with time and experience. But is that it? I mean, the Frontier Justice proves that all you really need is 3 bullets to kill a majority of the classes in the game. Certainly having the ability to rapid fire multiple shots without reload can't be that good, right? Hold your horses, pal. We'll get to that real soon. For now, we gotta focus on the other amazing utility this weapon has to offer: extra metal from just about anywhere. As mentioned before, if you manage to land a high damage shot, you gain metal profits for future use. This is great for both offense and defense when ammo boxes are scarce or your dispenser runs dry. You can lay down a mini sentry for 100 metal and then go around shooting people to get an endless supply of mini sentry building materials without having to waste time scavenging for the nearest ammo pack. And on defense, spies will be a fantastic source of free metal upgrades if they decide to show their Frenchy faces anywhere near your building. You'll be rolling in the metal profits no matter what side of the fence you're on. How amazing! It'll be useful anytime and anywhere without the need to start off weak and end up strong. However, as nice as that all is, the mechanics in general show no real purpose. If all you need to kill a target is 3 shots, wouldn't you just use the stock shotgun and keep things safe? Sure, the extra metal reserves are nice, super handy on offense too, but it'd be safer just to equip the stock and be done with it. That would be the case if it weren't for one thing that the enemy team constantly has: a medic. Medics? What do they have to do with anything? Medics provide overheal. Overheal is the key to successful team pushes and keeping your team in top shape. With a medic constantly on a target or making sure he's getting the heals all around, 3 bullets in the clip isn't going to do jack. However, having the ability to spray consistently at the overheal target will have them dead in no time. You can show no fear of reloading because you'll consistently keep getting shots out without worry. Sure, you won't have the crits of the Frontier Justice, but as I've mentioned before, those crits aren't guaranteed in the slightest with all the problems Engineer faces. The Widowmaker is reliable and can be there to improve your metal numbers and rip apart even the strongest of opponents with ease. And did I mention there's a 10% bonus damage advantage when the sentry is aimed at the target you shoot at? You're gonna have a field day with the proper sentry setups on both offense and on defense. It all comes down to how well you can aim, and that will come with time and experience. And even if you don't land the shots, there are so many ammo packs everywhere, even on dead bodies, that there shouldn't be any realistic way that you run out of metal. And because of these reasons, this weapon goes above the Frontier Justice. You can't go wrong with this weapon. There are only upsides for miles without any real downsides to hold out on. It's all in your control, and once you've mastered this weapon, it's like a straight upgrade in the palm of your hands. Header warning, I understand that a lot of you might not like this placement. In fact, the list was risky when I decided to put the Rescue Ranger below the stock. These weapons are all situational. Well, okay, besides the Pomps and the Panic Attack, those are trash. The top 4 weapons are super interchangeable. In fact, each of them are only marginally beside each other. At the end of the day, these 4 weapons are all great. Utilize each of these primaries to the best of your abilities and showcase just how awesome Engineer can really be. And those are the best and worst Engineer primary weapons. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you want to see more of these types of informational videos, leave a like and subscribe to let me know. Every sub counts and it only takes 1 click to help out the channel. Also, if we manage to hit 50,000 subscribers, I'll be doing a super duper unusual giveaway. So, if you got the message, be sure to put in all caps, yeehaw, to let me know. Remember to be awesome, stay awesome, and to have an awesome day. I'm Rob the Awesome, and I'll see you guys later. Ciao for now.
Motherfucker, I'm awesome. No, you're not, dude. Don't lie. I'm awesome. I'm driving around in my mom's ride. I'm awesome. A quarter of my life gone by, and I met all my friends online. Motherfucker, I'm awesome. I will run away from a brawl. I'm awesome. There's no voicemail, nobody calls. I'm awesome. I can't afford to buy 8 balls, and I talk to myself on my Facebook wall. You know my pants sag.